I'm Carey Stinson, and my journey through life has been quite an adventure. For over 20 years, I played Barney the Dinosaur on tour and 7 seasons of the hugely popular TV show Barney and Friends. Now my journey is to bring together friends and guests from all over the entertainment world for inspiring and at times amusing behind-the-scenes conversation. I'm Carey Stinson, and this is Purple Roads. Welcome to Purple Roads. My name is Kerron Stark, and as always, I'm thrilled you're here. We have Kerron Stark. He's got this new show called Mr. K's Clubhouse. It's very exciting. He grew up as a Barney fan, and now he's created his own show, which I love. Kerron, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Man, I am great. I'm thrilled you're here, and I'm thrilled to talk about this show. We had a show, Danny Joe's Treehouse. Mm-hmm. Who Danny is one of those passionate, he has created this show from his basement, and look at it, you're doing that same kind of thing too.
Yes.
I'm so impressed with what you're doing, and I'm thrilled you're here, and I want to talk all about it. I see my friend Barney on the back of your set there. And
he's
we
there.
talked about this. You're a fan of that wonderful show, and it kind of inspired you. So, let's just start from the beginning here. What got you to say, you know what, I'm going to create my own show?
Well, it was a long journey. So yeah, I was a huge Barney fan. Still am to this day, of course, but I was born in 93. So I grew up through the prime era of what Barney was. And then I watched it far longer than I usually admit to others. But Barney is what kind of started my love for acting and music and just the overall message of love. When I was younger, what I would do is I would stand in front of the TV and I would imitate the voice, the actions, the songs from beginning of episode or home video to end. And I did that all the way through middle school and things like that as well. And then my grandma, she has an in-home daycare. So I was around, I'm still to this day around tons of kids all the time, nieces and nephews, siblings. So my initial dream was to be a teacher because I just love the educational aspect of things. I would spend a lot of time, if I wasn't mimicking Barney, I would teach imaginary kids, certain topics or things like that. And then through like the summers at my grandma's daycare, I would teach those kids new lessons of what they would be learning for the coming years. So they would be a little bit more advanced. And so I did those kind of things. And as I grew up, I started doing more acting in school, and being involved in tons of productions that way. And then I got into music writing. So I used to do rapping and singing for about 10 years. And what got me really to the show idea was when COVID hit last year, I was trying to figure out something new that I can do for kids. And I didn't know what it was. But when COVID hit, I witnessed firsthand how it affected all the schools and kids, teachers, things like that. And I slowly started to realize there's not much educational TV like there was when I was growing up with Mr. Rogers and Barney and Sesame Street and all those great shows. So I wanted to bring something like that back. And I started brainstorming, and I did a lot of research. So I know a lot about Barney, and then I researched a lot of Mr. Rogers. Even when you had Danny Joe on, I found out about him from that first episode, and I watched a lot of his shows and just all these different shows to see how each person put their own spin on things. And ultimately, what I call Mr. K's Clubhouse is kind of a combination of Barney, Mr. Rogers, and Sesame Street. So we have puppet characters like you see kind of behind me, much like Sesame Street. We sing and dance to help teach those lessons, like Barney did. But then I host the show like Mr. Rogers did with that person-to-person interaction. And we got it started last year. Pilot came out in February. And we're just slowly building it and trying to reach more families and more children and teach them something positive, which I think we need a lot more in the world today, more than anything.
Well, we do. And I love what you're talking about. I love what you've done. The funny thing is, I think that positivity is there. Mm-hmm. It's just that we have to get it out there.
For sure.
And so that's why I wanted to have you on, because people need to know about this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that put shows out there, and I love that. But you got to have the heart. Mm-hmm. That's really the key to all of this, is you got to have the heart.
Oh, for sure.
You have to have the authenticity, right? Mm-hmm. you can do so much, right? We have the power of YouTube and these things that we can do. But you really got to want to do this. You got to
Yeah.
understand the message. You got to understand all those things. And that's what I saw with Danny Joe. And that's
Hmm.
what I see with you, right?
For
This
sure.
is really about giving back, and it's really about helping. And I just think it's such a beautiful thing. So let's go into a little bit about the show itself.
Yeah.
Okay. And what an episode typically is.
Okay. Yeah. So usually it's about anywhere between 18 and 25 minutes per episode.
Okay.
And it takes a page out of Barney's book where it's a world of imagination, a world of love, and each episode is based on something specific. So within the first season, we have an episode that's based on art and the different kinds of art. We have episodes on the diversity within families. We have an episode that on donating and giving to those less fortunate. Um, and so I start the show every episode. I come on and I talk to the viewers directly through the camera. So we talk, we sing songs, we dance, that with songs that have anything to do with the message. So we use traditional children's songs like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star or the ABCs, but then I also write original children's music for the show as well. Any songs that kind of help to move that lesson along. And then occasionally we're met with puppet characters. Like this is Baxter here on my right side. He's a bear. We're visited by puppet characters, or we also have children actors who can come in certain episodes as well. Sometimes guest appearances by other adult actors and things like that. And just any ways that we can help push the message of whatever we're trying to teach. Every episode we're visited by Speedy. This is him up here. He's a sloth puppet, but he's our male sloth. So he delivers something that has to do with the episode that day that can also help us teach. So for like the art episode, he brought a poem in, which a poem is another form of art. So we help teach that. In certain episodes, like the donation episode, he brought in donation items for things that he no longer needed. So yeah, it's just much of being visited with those puppets and those human characters, and then myself singing those songs and dancing through it and playing games or reading stories and trying to go on those adventures, but also give those kids something memorable by the end of it.
One of the hardest parts of that to pull off is the balance between the education and the entertainment.
Yes.
Because if you become too preachy, kids will turn off.
For sure.
The one thing that's happened these days that's really difficult because of screens and YouTubes and TVs and cell phones, attention spans.
Yeah.
Like that.
Very short.
But to keep them there, and especially 18 to 25 minutes, that's a challenge there.
Yes.
And then the entertainment side of that. So how have you been able to balance that? What have you done? I can see, obviously we're talking about different actors and puppets and things of that nature.
Yes.
But do you keep what's going on in today when it comes to attention spans in mind when you're putting a show together?
Yes. So my secret to writing scripts is I try to write scripts the way that young children think. So my show is tailored for about the age of 2 to 7. And like you said, of course, especially now even when they're younger, their attention spans are already short, but the continuous growth of technology makes it a lot shorter. So I was told multiple times that kids aren't going to be able to sit through an episode as long as 18 or 25 minutes. But my secret is to write it the way that they think. So the way that children think is you can be on a specific topic and then something else is going to catch their attention. So they're on that for a while and then they'll come back to that topic maybe, and then something else catches their attention. So I'll break down how the art episode worked. I came in and we started talking about art in the museum. And then we segued into showing some art of butterflies. And so then we spent some time talking about this life cycle of a butterfly and singing a song about butterflies. And then we come back to the art idea and then we talk about using our imagination. So we sing a song and use some of our imagination and then kind of segue back to, so it's kind of bouncing back and forth. I find that writing it that way, it's always a changing topic a little bit that kind of keeps us still in the same overall topic, but it keeps kids intrigued. And then also the music aspect of it and seeing colorful puppets pop in or things like that also catches them. And so just having those things kind of pop in and making sure you place a song without, too many minutes in between or something, it kind of keeps them engaged and seeing something new. So that's kind of my secret to each script that I write, is trying to just think the way that they would probably think through it and write to kind of appeal to them that way.
Well, that's interesting. It's one of the things I'm so proud of with Barney. We didn't have a problem with that. We still don't have a problem with that, and we haven't been on the air for years, but we were able to keep their attention spans. And I think it is a little mix of all of that. Using those different techniques. So one of the things you said is, to do a show like this, you have to kind of put your spin on it. So what is your spin, Ben? What are you putting onto this? Because obviously there's been shows like Barney and Mr. Rogers and Sesame Street and people doing this. So, but what spin are you putting on this to kind of put your stamp on it?
It's for me, it's very minimal actually, because the style that I do myself, and even Danny Joe, like we've mentioned, it's a classic style of television that we don't see much anymore. So bringing those things to the front for the new generation of kids now, it's a new idea to them anyway. So there's not much of a spin that you have to put on it. What I try to do is I try to modernize it a little bit. Of course, I don't deal with a lot of screens and things like that in the show, laptops, or I use a cell phone one episode for a specific moment, but I try to shy away from those and stick to the basics of what you guys did so well back in the 90s and early 2000s. But my ways of trying to modernize it is speak about things that happen today, but then also on top of that, I try to introduce different elements of music. So each song sounds different. It doesn't all sound like children. I didn't want my music to sound like children's songs. I wanted that if you were to hear it, maybe without the lyrics, you wouldn't think that it's a children's song at all. To try to introduce new elements of music to children in ways that they probably wouldn't have heard it before my show. And so that's really the only spin that I put on it, is just the musical element of it. Because again, with it being the structure that it is, kind of modeled after those original shows, kids aren't much on PBS like they used to be now with streaming apps and YouTube and things. So we get to introduce them to what's technically an old style, but to the new generation, it's new to them to witness a human being talking to them through the camera and not just all animation or things like that.
Right. Well, it's funny. They do go to PBS. They go to everywhere now. That's really where it is that they're seeing a little bit of everything. Because obviously everyone's had to do streaming networks and all kinds of stuff.
For sure.
It really, I think it's a challenge to get to kids' attention, because, obviously back in our days, there weren't as many shows. When Barney went on PBS, there was two other shows. Lamb Chop and Shiny Time. So, and obviously Sesame Street was there, but it's definitely a challenge.
For sure.
I know, because I'm putting this show together, and my show is a lot smaller than what you're putting together. I'm just doing a talk show. It's a lot of time. It's a lot. I mean, you really have to love what you do, because there's a lot of work that goes into kind of this. And
for sure,
you're putting a show together like you. I know you're writing. I know you're directing. I know you're doing music. I know you're dancing. I know you're editing. All of those aspects. You're promoting. You've got social media and websites and all that stuff. What is your favorite part, and what is the hardest part of putting this show together?
The hardest part for me is second guessing myself. I do that a lot where, I'll write something and then I'll scrutinize it a lot. If I spend too much time on it, I start changing things that probably don't need to be changed. And that goes all the way through to even when we're premiering them on YouTube. It's always, well, what if the kids don't like this? Because, kids, they'll tell you exactly if they like something or not, which is great. They're very honest. Right. So you worry not only that the kids don't like it, but even the parents. When I released the pilot episode in February, it did great as the first episode, and it was a very small idea of what my overall idea is. And they loved it. So then when it started coming to season 1, it was a lot of second guessing myself. What if they don't like this? What if I change something that they liked in the pilot that they don't? So I think that's the hardest part, is just me kind of just I believe in myself, but getting out of my own head, I should say. And I think a
Sure.
lot of people that follow their dreams, they do that, right? They overthink a little bit about their craft or their talent, and then, you know, they kind of scare themselves in a sense. So I think that's the biggest thing. My favorite part is actually, it's not the writing or the filming or doing the shows. My favorite part is actually having the person to person interaction. So over the summer, I was able to start going into elementary schools, and I do after school programming now, and doing live shows and singing songs and interacting with those kids one on one, and knowing who they are as people, that you don't get to see through a screen, right?
Right.
Through a screen, they're just watching you, and you're just providing whatever the content is, which is great. But my favorite part is to get in front of them and have a one-on-one interaction with them and see them engaged in the music, and we're dancing together and having conversations. That I think is more rewarding than all of it.
Yeah, that's an interesting. I felt that way too. I obviously I toured for a long time.
Yes.
Over 10 years, and there's nothing that beats. I mean, there's nothing that beats that. And I did the TV show for 12 years. It's just it's a different animal, right? Because
Yes.
you just don't get that feedback.
Yes.
And you're in a studio, and it's very creative, which is amazing, but you just don't get the feedback. Like there's nothing like
Right.
being out there live. The other part's interesting because I think it's one of the things I love about the Barney Creative is that we really didn't concern ourselves too much about, we had a lot of parents that didn't care for Barney. They understood it was good. They just didn't care for it because of the songs or this,
whatever the case.
And it's interesting because we didn't have social media like we have now.
Yes.
And everyone's a critic, and I just don't listen to it. And I think it's probably because of the way I grew up with Barney. And I would hear people say, I hate Barney, and I knew they didn't really hate it; they just didn't understand it.
Exactly.
But I know a lot of people really get caught up with that kind of stuff.
For sure.
So is that something you probably get thicker skin, right? When you put yourself out there, you put your idea out there, you put your work out there, and it's whether it's good or it's bad, it all comes from a good place. It's all, it's all love and caring and wanting to help people.
Yes.
So is that frustrating at times?
It can be. Like I mentioned earlier, I was an actor before, so I did acting all the way through school, and I'm involved in a play right now here that's a parody of Die Hard, a Christmas show that we're doing. So I've always been exposed to the criticism, because that's one thing you have to learn when it's acting. Sure. There's always going to be a note or something, and then when I did music for a long time, it was not everyone likes your music, or maybe it's not their style, so you have to get used to that. So the great thing with the show so far is I haven't heard anything negative. Each note and I welcome criticism all the time. And each note or each suggestion someone has is something that I already in my mind know needs to be fixed. So it's just an extra confirmation for me that I'm on the right track. But so far I haven't heard anything negative, or maybe there are people out there who don't like it, but I haven't personally heard or seen that. And of course, like you said, that it's always going to come with the territory. You're not going to be able to please every single person. So I do create thick skin from that, because you can't really bank your dreams or your goals or your talents off of the likes of every person on earth, because it's not a realistic idea,
Oh,
so,
I know.
Yeah.
No, I know. So I love this aspect of what you're doing, and it's obviously really important. Do you feel the responsibility of inspiring other people to do these things?
I hope to. I don't think that I don't necessarily feel the responsibility yet, but I do hope to inspire other people. And the main goal for my show is, of course, to teach, to follow your dreams and love and the education. But the main thing is just to inspire the children to be something in the world, whatever they want to be. Coming from where I grew up, and, around my childhood, I didn't come from necessarily a community where everyone pushes you to follow your dreams. They find ways to deter that. So I think one of the biggest things for me to do is to try to reiterate to children that it's okay to follow those dreams, and to hopefully inspire them to, if they want to act or if they want to do music or anything else, be a doctor, that they can do that no matter what, and to continue to follow those. And I just hope that in some way I help adults or older teenagers and things like that also want to provide that kind of love and that positive message to, if no one else, if not themselves, to the younger generation, since they're the ones that's going to be coming after us. And I think if we start with them in 10 or 15 years down the line, we have, you know, a generation of people who follow the dreams and who are encouraging then the ones below them to do the same thing. So that's my biggest hope, is just to inspire the kids, if no one else.
Well, you know, I'm looking at you and I'm looking at Barney, and Barney obviously inspired you, which was our goal.
Yes.
Right. And so
yes.
you're just taking this forward, which is what is so beautiful about this.
Yes.
So tell me the future plans with Mr. K's Clubhouse and all these other, you got big dreams. Where are you going to take this?
Well, I'll show you this first. This year I did my first book as well.
Beautiful.
Being Different is Simply Amazing. And it's a book really just to, teach kids that we have similarities within each other, but there's obviously also differences. And those differences are just as important as anything else. I have my ending song, which I call my I Love You song in the show, is called Simply Amazing. And it's really just telling kids to follow their dreams, to be kind to each other, that they can put their mark on the world, and anything that they choose, that they do, you know, any option they choose to take, they'll be simply amazing with that. And so that was my first book. But the future is, I hope I don't ramble too much, but we're going to start moving into season 2. I'm getting ready actually to move this set from my basement to a TV station locally here that we have. So we're going to be rebuilding the set. We're going to be casting new children for the show, obviously new songs and new content. And we're going to implement a new program called the Sprout Initiative, which it's basically my vision is to allow kids to come in if they're interested in building or acting or music or filming, anything like that. And they can work hands-on with experienced people and kind of get that experience. And so hopefully maybe either they decide maybe that's not what they're actually interested in, or it is, and they can start to build kind of a mini resume as younger people to hopefully eventually maybe help them become successful. So we're going to implement that at the start of the year through the Barney fan page that we have on Facebook. I'm sure you know of it. I've met tons of great people. So there's another page there now called the Barney History Fans. And I met a guy through there named Andrew Olson. He's rebuilding Speedy for me, because Speedy wasn't an original puppet for the show. So he's going to create a new version of Speedy for me for the new season. I have another writer by the name of Jen Pollard, who's also a fan of Barney as well, who's in there. They're going to join as a writer for the show, which I think is great because they know what worked for Barney, and clearly like I did, and we have that love of reaching children. So they're joining, and we're trying to bring more writers on, more choreographers, and just really start to grow it and create quality content that we can reach more kids and families with. My overall goal is, what I'm starting to do now, is write a stage show for it, because I saw, obviously we know how Barney went on tour. It was like a Broadway show for a children's show. It was almost unheard of for children's shows to do.
It actually was unheard of.
Exactly. So, and just the lengths that you guys went to put those tours on,
right,
inspires me to do things like that, go on new adventures, bring the world to these kids in a fun way. And so I'm also working on things like that as well. But yeah, it's really just creating as much content as possible that we can provide a loving message to children and reach as many kids that we can. So next year is going to be an even bigger year, hopefully. And there's a lot of ideas that I'm trying to get out. And so I just need to start building a bigger team so we can get those things done for sure.
So when do you sleep?
Almost never. Almost never. Because I work so much on the show. And then also I have some part-time jobs that involve acting. I'm in a stage show, but I also have a 5-year-old daughter and a 9-month-old daughter,
Wow.
you know, and a family. So there's almost no time to sleep because you have to dedicate time to everything. So sometimes you sacrifice the sleep to be able to make sure you have time for all of those things. So, but it's worth it. You know, it's paying off, and I'm getting to do what I love. So it doesn't feel like much work, which is great. So.
Oh, well, that's awesome. I absolutely, I love that. So can I just completely put you on the spot and you actually
Sure.
sing me a little of Simply Amazing, your
Yeah,
song?
sure. For sure. Let's see, how does it go? Okay. So it says, there is no such thing as being too small. You can do great things when you give it your all. Someday you will be simply amazing. You can make a mark if you set your mind to it. You can be the spark. Nothing left but to do it. Someday you will be simply amazing. So don't give up. Always be kind. Follow your dreams and you will be simply amazing.
Well, it's beautiful. That's
Thank you.
beautiful. I love it. I love what you're doing. We will here at Purple Rose, we will promote as much as we can, all the
Thank you.
links, everything we can. We will get it out there, get people watching this. I can
For
tell you
sure.
now from all the Barney people, they would all just love what you're doing. You're carrying it on, you're taking it forward, and the
Yeah.
message of love. It is just so important. And I just can't tell you how much I love what you're doing.
Thank you. That means a lot. And especially coming from you, I just have to say what a big inspiration you were and everyone that was a part of that show. I truly believe if it wasn't for that show and me growing up with it, I wouldn't be here doing this at all. I think that plays a very big part in it. So I'm very thankful to even have this opportunity to sit across from you and have this conversation. Oh, and we should mention DBNA because we're both there.
Well, you got there
Right?
before I did, but go for it.
Yeah, sorry.
No.
Yeah, so DBNA television, it's available on, I think, Roku and Amazon Fire Stick right now. And next year, I think it's going to be on Apple TV.
That's right. And they're on
But
YouTube as well, and it's on demand.
and on demand, yes. And their website, dbnatelevision.tv. So I start there Monday, December 13th. And then you're already there. I think we're going to be running close to each other, like
We
in
are.
time, I believe. So yeah, so you can see Mr. K's Clubhouse. You can see Purple Rose Podcast there. So shout out to David. I'm very grateful for him as well to give me the opportunity.
Well, I talked to David, and he was just so impressed with you, as I am as well. There's a thing about, and I've been in this business for so long. I have seen so many beautiful ideas die away
Yeah.
because you have to put action to it. You have to go do it. You
Yes.
can't talk about it. You have to do it. And it's what I loved you saying earlier. A lot of times perfection stops people, right?
Yes.
You just put it out there. Okay. And then you make adjustments. You know, we talk about it with Barney all the time. Everyone knows what the Barney costume first looked like.
Yeah.
And what it became, you know, behind you.
For sure.
Right. But the message stayed the same. And that's what's important. You know, you started in your basement. Now you're moving to a studio, and you know, who knows where you're going to go next. So
exactly.
kudos to you. I love it. We're so excited you're going to be on DBNA TV and all the places you are, and just been a pleasure having you on the show.
Yeah, thank you. And if I can just say one more thing, I think it's all about just the ingenuity of it, right? To being genuine and having the passion for it, I think is sometimes what a lot of people miss out, is having the passion and the drive for it, right? It's dreams are great, but without taking risks and wanting to take that leap, it can't really work out. So you have to be willing to do that. You have to believe in yourself. If no one else does, you have to tell yourself yes. And just do it, because there's someone out there in a world full of people. Someone's going to like what you're doing, right? So you just have to take that chance.
Well, that's it. But the hardest part, right, is that you have to expose yourself, right?
Yes.
You have to believe. I believe in the message of love, And I'm going to throw that out in the world. And I don't really matter what anyone thinks about that, but I love people and I want people to love and care about people. And I'm going to throw it out there.
That's the message right there.
And it sounds easy, but it's not that easy.
It's kind of scary sometimes. Yeah. Sure. To just go out and do it for sure.
And tell someone, you know, I remember my early days with Barney, you know, and you tell someone you love them, what do you want? Want anything. Yeah. It's nothing other than I want you to understand how important you are, right? In the basics of this, we're all human beings. We're all the same. Yes, we have different parts in this and that, right? But we all for sure respond to love. We all do in some way or the other. And it's just so important to have people like you, someone young and passionate, who understands the message and is carrying on and pushing out there. And I'm so thrilled you're doing it.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. Truly means a lot. I really appreciate it.
Well, good luck with everything. We will have to have you back on so we can check and see where you are. Goodness gracious, who knows?
For sure.
It's going to get, but good luck. And
thank you.
Thanks for being on. And we will definitely check with you soon. Welcome to Purple Roads. My name is Carey Stinson. And as always, I'm thrilled you're here. If you follow us on Patreon, we've got Mixtape Lounge with Josh Martin. And we have been kind of teasing and playing with the fact that Josh has got this podcast coming up. Well, I could only think the appropriate place to launch that, for him to launch this reveal, is on Purple Roads. So look who is here. My good friend, Josh Martin. Josh, how are you?
Man, I'm great, Carey. Thank you for having me. How are you?
Man, I'm good. It looks like you're in the Mixtape Lounge right now.
Yeah, I'm in the back lounge, you know, taking a little break.
Well, you know, we've been talking about this. We've been teasing that you had a new project coming up, and I'm honored and thrilled that you're going to reveal it here on Purple Road. So let us know what's happening here.
Well, again, thank you so much for having me on and let me announce this here, as you have been a huge supporter and backer. You know, you've been pushing me along, encouraged me to do it. So it's something that I've been wanting to do a long time anyway. So here we go. We are going to launch a new video cast, podcast, audio cast of new pushing cases.
Look at that. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, this is dedicated to all the people who make road shows happen. The touring road shows, from rock and roll to rap to wrestling, monster truck shows, you know, ice shows, kid shows, all those people that really are kind of the unsung heroes of those tours. So it's my pleasure to give them a platform and a voice and tell some stories that people have never, ever heard before of some of their favorite artists.
Well, I love that. I know how important this is to you. Anyone on Barney's Big Surprise knows you were like an honorary member of the crew. You rode the tour bus with the crew, the only cast member to ride the tour bus with the crew. And I know you have such a high level of respect for what they do, as I do as well. You know I learned this, and we'll talk about this, but I mean, they're just about as professional. What it takes to do what they do and the importance of what they do. It can be a very dangerous job. It's a lot of hours. It's very physical, and we can go on and on and on and stuff. So I think it's just amazing that you're doing this. And putting this together is a challenge, and putting together a video cast / podcast. The only way it happens is if you're passionate about it, because you got to put the time and the work and all that. And I know you are, so I know this is going to be successful. So we've kind of mentioned it, but really tell me why you wanted to do this, or why it was important for you to tell these stories.
Sure. Yeah. Well, like you alluded to on the Barney tour, that's where I really got in tune to it. But even before that, growing up, I was sensitive, or I observed the workings, the pieces, the moving pieces to make shows work that I was already interested in. Growing up in the MTV generation, that old video trope, as they call it today, of starting the 80s rock band video with the empty arena, and then all the gear getting loaded in and time lapse song going on off, and everything getting loaded out at the end. Always thought that was just a cool thing to see. And then all of a sudden I'm on tour and I'm seeing it live in real time. And it's like putting a magnifying glass up to the worker ants all of a sudden. And with a very loud invitation from the boys one night when I was just sitting in the arena watching. Right, I wanted to stay out of the way, didn't want to get in the way, because I could tell work was happening.
Right.
One of the boys yelled, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm sorry, and I thought, oh boy, I shouldn't even be in here. They're mad. I'm just sitting over here, and I'm like, I'm sorry. Should I not be in here? Be better if you were down here helping. And I went, can I? I don't see why not. So boom, I jumped the rail and I went down, and they just pointed at cases and I started pushing cases. That was easy enough, right?
Yeah.
Because they had already started kind of moving on to the deal. Well, the next show, I jumped out of the costume, put my street clothes on, and showed up on stage. And I loved it. They didn't look twice. They just went, "Hey, here, go, this, that." I just started working, and it was great. I grew up in team sports as well, so I have that background. I always love playing on a good team that comes together and gets the job done. And boy, there was no better team than I'd been on at that point after that. And it was just awesome. And after being around them even longer and throughout the tour, getting to know them as people, and then getting to know friends of theirs on other tours and all of that stuff, I've gained a greater appreciation for all of them and what they do. And also realized that, as an actor, it's pretty regular for me to be out in the front and, promote myself and what I do and what I've done, this, that, and the other thing. And I'd challenge anyone to name me one roadie that, in the general public. And I think that's a shame, and so I want to share that, the pandemic as well, being in touch with some of these, with my friends still that are in the business. I know that the pandemic affected a lot of them negatively,
right,
as well as positively. And so I want to get that out there. That needs to be known, that everyone needs to be taken care of, and we need to take care of each other.
Well, my favorite thing about doing this podcast, and the reason I want to do it, my favorite part is that I learn something each week. A lot of times I interview people that I already know, and I still learn something. And I love that aspect about it. I know you've been recording episodes for this. What have you learned already from people that you knew that you were like, really, that happened?
I've recorded, of the ones that I've recorded, a few that I spent a lot of time with. Right. A couple I only spent a few months with.
Sure.
And one guest I only met randomly through another friend of ours from the Barney days. So I really didn't know anything about him.
Right.
So it was great. it's cool to have a perspective of what they do already. So it's not awkward or just like,
Right.
oh, what do you do? But you know, at the same time, it's fresh too. I'm able to ask some questions because, you know, we didn't necessarily go, oh, so where'd you grow up, Mo?
Right.
Or whoever, you know, we'd never really talked about that, but those things are coming out, or things that they've done since with artists that everyone knows and loves or doesn't love,
Right.
in some instances. And you know, some of them have moved on to doing other things other than road shows. Some of them are, you know, in it right now, and some of them have been in it for a long time and still in it right now. So, I mean, it's really it's fun for me just to do. I'm learning so much. I can't wait for everyone else to see it.
Well, you know, you've done a lot of these podcasts, and I have as the guest side. It's different when you're the host. So what has it been like for you being the host, and what things have you learned about that?
Wow. You know, a lot of times I'm not driving, or most of the time I'm not driving in an interview, you know.
Right.
There are times where I kind of take over,
Sure.
the actor in me. But as far as like asking the questions, that's something you got to stay on top of to move things along. But
Right.
Luckily, with the experience in podcasts and just kind of who I am, and the fact that I want to keep it organic,
Sure.
you know, I just want to have a conversation. I'm not here to make a big production and entertain people with you know, a song and a dance or whatever over
Right.
here. We're trying to tell some cool stories and let people relate and that sort of thing. And I think that that's what's going to help grow the show. I want that to happen organically, and I think people will naturally flock to it, hopefully.
Well, what challenges have you run into? Let's not talk about it as a host, but just also you're doing like I do. You're executive producing this show too. So what challenges have you run putting that all together?
Oh, well, hey, all of right. I'm a techie now. I'm my own technician. I'm my own producer, editor,
Right.
graphic designer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but you know, to be honest, I've been doing this, been training to do this for a while now. So it's just, you know, keep going. Another great thing about this show, pushing cases. It's a theme that I've already established in the few episodes that I've recorded. The show always goes on.
Ain't that the truth?
Goes on.
You know, you're lucky in the same area that I'm lucky with this group, is that I interview people that are not shy, right? They've got stories and they're used to the camera and they want to jump in. You've got a group. I've met many of these men and women over the years, and they're not shy. And so is that a challenge, you know, where it goes and directing traffic?
So far, no. No, you know, I mean, as you know me, I'm
Right.
never really short on words. You know, like everybody, I have my moments. I like to withdraw sometimes, but you know, I'm talking with some friends and having a conversation, and I invest myself. You know, I like to be present, and so that's really easy. You know, they've been open and honest about things, and from one point to the next, we've just been able to build upon it. Honestly, I need more time. I think I mentioned it to you, but it's a great thing to need. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh wow, we got to do a part 2. You know,
Because you're doing half-hour shows, is that right?
Yeah, we're gonna start with half hours. Yeah. We could, like I say, we could go for forever, but Yeah, we're starting with 30 minutes. Make sure everybody's happy and invested. There's always room to grow, right? But so far there hasn't been a dull moment. We're always adding info, and man, there's been some great things to promote and talk about. New info. It's cool.
Any surprises so far?
Every episode. Everyone I've done, I'm like, what? Whoa, what? Serious? Wow. Okay. Boom. You know how? Look, you know how on YouTube and everywhere there's a clip. There's a clip. Be like, oh, do you want to watch this? Yeah, you do. This is it. I'm having to go. Oh, okay, which one do I use? And each one. So yeah, it's fun. It's cool.
Oh, I love that. Well, I know you feel the same way I do, which one of the really important parts of doing these shows, not only to highlight someone that doesn't usually get this platform to tell their story, but also to get the truth out there, because, you know, we see it all the time, all over the internet and things of that nature. And it's not that people are telling lies. It's just that they don't have all the information. They weren't there, right? So has that been fun for you to hear what really happened on a Van Halen tour, or on a Rolling Stone tour, or a Big Purple Dinosaur tour?
Yes. Actually, there was one of the recent ones I did. I got corrected. I was corrected in the interview. I was very embarrassed. I tried really hard to edit all around it and leave it out and let no one see that. But no, I'm leaving most of the sores in. You know what I mean? Because you know, the fun part about this too is some of my peoples are working, like I said.
Right.
It's hotel room.
Yeah.
Hotel room Wi-Fi.
Right.
You know, it is what it is, but you know, NDAs. I'm on tour, but I can't tell you what tour I'm on.
Right.
That's fun. I think maybe when some of those come out, I'll be able to at least add in the link. This is where they were, or do one of those flappers. But you know, really, it's really eye-opening. Both the job on the job aspects and the off the job aspects, both positive and negative. And I'm happy, really honored, to be honest, because a lot of these people, they got plenty to do, obviously, and they don't talk on camera normally. This isn't something they normally do. Some aren't comfortable. Some of my friends won't be on the show because they aren't comfortable coming on camera, which I totally respect and have told them. But you know, for the ones that do, this is the show for them. And again, I'm really excited to give them a platform to tell all of those stories.
Well, and we run into that with Purple Roads too. You know, everyone wants to see these people, but some people just don't want to get on and tell their stories. So we get it all the time. The fans want to see someone, and sometimes, you know, they respectively decline. So some of that goes on as well. So I totally get that.
And as being a crew guy, you are literally backstage, behind the scenes.
Sure.
Some people, a lot of people in this industry, in that business, in that part of the business, really like that part.
Right.
The fact that they're behind the scenes and don't need to be out in the open. For other people, I think some of those stories need to be out in the open. And I hope to give those a voice.
Well, yeah, and I know, you know, a lot of this, and I think it's the important part of what you're doing is, it's not the, you know, the band did this or that kind of stuff. It's really about what they do.
Thank you.
Yes, you know, when you're clear on that, when you're taking rigs in the way up in the air, and I mean, I've seen some of this stuff in some of the buildings that we played, and I've had some of these stories of, you know, setting up a stage quick and tearing down quick, and but you still have to be safe, and who's up in the air and who's this and that. I mean, it's a pretty impressive thing that they do that looks, it's the technical of it is pretty impressive. And I think that aspect, people are really going to be fascinated, because when they find out what's in those cases behind you and what they do with them, it's pretty impressive.
And there's a great story of I like to get to, like I said, the show always goes on, right?
Yeah.
And, I like to ask moments where the show almost didn't go on, right? And half of that story is that because the show always goes on, most of these people are like, I can't think of it, because it always goes on. They just don't really think about the fact that it maybe didn't.
Sure.
But luckily, there have been some recollections where it's like, oh, wait, okay. It wasn't really like it almost didn't go on, but we almost didn't have this part of the show.
Right.
Or, oh, we had to do this, that, or the other thing. And it's like, oh, okay. So what did you do?
Right.
Or we did this whole big crazy thing for a show, and then they didn't want it.
Right.
That's a good one. That's another great one. That point was made. You and I on tour, right? While we performed the part of the star, we were not the boss, right? The crew, everyone else, no one answered to us. We didn't give anybody orders. You know what I mean? Whereas some of these performers, it is all about one person.
Right.
It is all about one single person, not four people in a band, although that also happens. But
right.
A particular interview I did is all about this one particular person, and they take all of that weight of all of those people on the crew and in the cast.
Sure.
And their families.
Sure.
They really, you think these stars are just out eating steak and riding in cars and doing this, that, and the other thing. Some of them are, but it's not at an expense beyond money.
Well, right. And I know they all learned the same thing we did. The artists understand the importance of what they do, and
the ones that last do. Yes, sir. And that's some things we're finding out in this show.
Yeah. That's just going to be awesome. So when are we launching this show?
We have an official date.
Okay. When is that?
December 20th.
I love it.
December 20th. We're going to be launching.
Which will be a couple days after we air this. So you will see Pushing Cases. And this is going to be, so, we have this opportunity. Let's do this. So we're going to find it on Pushing Cases at YouTube at Pushing Cases.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we got social media, right?
That's right. We'll be launching all that. It will be all connected in the first launcher, the first video. You can get all of it, everything in the first time. And maybe I can go ahead and get it ready for this show.
I like it. And then we can also hear this. We're sitting in our car, right? We're going to be on iTunes, Apple Podcast, Google, all that good stuff.
Everything that can go. Now we're taking, it's a new one, so there's some logistics to get through, but they shouldn't take too long. We just need 1 or 2 episodes to be up and running, and everybody watch them and say, "Yep, we're watching them." And then the bigger ones will say, "Okay, we'll play them."
And we got a website as well.
pushingcases.com.
Well, there you go.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And are you doing this? Is this going to be weekly?
Yes. We're that is the goal. As life do, as tours do,
right?
Or don't, we're gonna keep going. But I've got a lot of friends, and I'm there's all kinds of different tours, all kinds of different jobs and moving parts to tours. So not just, I think we're going to have a pretty good pool of guests. We're going to do our best. I can tell you that, just like they do on the road.
Well, and I know it's the fun part of this is you're going to meet new people. And those are always, we do a lot of that here at Purple Roads, and I know that's a lot of fun.
That's another part I'm excited. I've already had a couple of people be referred and connected. So working all those angles, it's just really exciting to go on a new adventure at 40 years old.
I wish I could say that.
I'm hanging in there for you, Carey.
I appreciate that. So as we're getting here to wrap up this, what do you hope the audience gets out of this?
Well, I hope the audience gets a new, greater appreciation for crew and what goes on for not only touring shows, but any shows you go to. I mean, you're gonna see gear. There's gonna be gear that goes in and out. It's gonna kind of look familiar after a while. Take a look up and look around, and you'll start noticing a lot of guys wearing black, and those people did all of that. And after you watch this show, you're gonna learn some more of the sacrifices that they go through. And I hope you get that appreciation and maybe give them a thank you next time you're at a show.
And you're doing everything, right? You're going small show, big show, you name it, from all areas.
Yeah. From performers, caterers, truck drivers, accountants, carpenters, lighting, dressers, all of it. Everybody. You heard all those, and I didn't even skim the different jobs.
Right.
Happen on the road. So all of those people, and most people don't know about those positions or those or the people who fill them. So here we go.
Yeah, I know. I know. All right, man, we got to wrap up. So tell me, finish about this project.
Matt, listen, check it out. Pushing Cases, hosted by Josh Martin. Check it out. You're gonna love it. If you don't love it, give me an email and I'll yell back at you in my roadie voice. I don't care.
I love it. Well, here at Purple Roads, we're so excited about this, and just know we are going to do our best here to get it out all over the place. So you will see links, you'll see all the social media stuff. We'll be following it. We'll push it. So everything we can, we will be pushing Cases on Purple Roads to get this out. And I know some of the people you're already talking to. And so I will be watching, and I'm very excited about this. And good luck, man. Just keep it going.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all the support. I appreciate all of your support. And tune in.
Well, I know the Purple Roads fans will. And so we have a beautiful audience here, and take them with good hands, right? There you go.
Absolutely. Bang. Always.
Hey, Josh, thank you so much for being on, and thanking for letting us reveal your new show.
Thank you.
Hey, and remember, keep your eyes, ears, and your heart open, and you'll find your Purple Road. We'll see you next week.